Welcome to this new episode, brought to you by Vault of 15, your #1 top 15 list maker. Today we dive into the strange, the shocking, and the downright revolting foods that are cherished in their home countries. While they may seem disgusting to outsiders, these dishes are tied to tradition, culture, and identity. This is our countdown of the top 15 most disgusting foods people actually love. Number 15. Casu Marzu, Sardinia, Italy. On the Mediterranean island of Sardinia, cheese lovers take things to an entirely different level. Casu Marzu, which literally means rotten cheese, is made from sheep's milk and intentionally infested with live insect larvae. These maggots eat through the cheese, breaking down fats and turning its texture into a creamy, almost spreadable paste. To outsiders, the idea of eating writhing larvae is stomach-churning, but to many Sardinians, Casu Marzu is more than food. It's a symbol of heritage. Traditionally served at weddings and celebrations, the cheese is considered a delicacy that demonstrates bravery and connection to the land. Some locals even argue that it tastes best when the maggots are still alive and jumping. European Union food safety laws once banned Casu Marzu, but black market wheels of the cheese continued to circulate in Sardinia. Its flavor is described as sharp, tangy, and fiery, unlike any cheese you've ever had. What seems like a nightmare snack to outsiders is, for Sardinians, a rare treat that's treasured as part of their identity. Number 14. Balut, Philippines. In the bustling streets of Manila or the quiet provinces of Luzon, one of the most popular snacks is also one of the most shocking to foreigners. Balut. This is a fertilized duck egg, boiled and eaten straight from the shell, embryo, and all. Depending on the stage of incubation, you may see soft feathers, a beak, or tiny bones. While many outsiders recoil at the thought, Filipinos consider balut a rich, warming street food packed with nutrients. Vendors sell it late at night, often seasoned with a sprinkle of salt or vinegar. The broth inside is sipped first, followed by the tender embryo and creamy yolk. For locals, balut isn't just food, it's culture. It's shared during drinking sessions with friends, sold at markets, and even considered an aphrodisiac. What might make tourists gag is, for Filipinos, a taste of home, a comforting snack tied to family and tradition. Number 13. Hákarl, Iceland. Few foods are as infamous for their smell as Hákarl, Iceland's national delicacy made from Greenland shark. The meat of this shark is toxic when fresh, but Icelanders discovered a method to make it edible, burying it underground for weeks to ferment, then hanging it to dry for months. The result is cubes of fish with an overpowering ammonia scent, often compared to cleaning products. Foreigners usually struggle to get past the smell, let alone the taste. But to Icelanders, Hákarl is a proud reminder of survival in harsh northern conditions. Traditionally eaten during Thorablat, a midwinter festival celebrating Viking heritage, Hákarl is washed down with a shot of Brennivin, a local schnapps. For Icelanders, it's not just about the taste, it's about honoring resilience and tradition. Those who grow up eating it describe its flavor as sharp, strong, and uniquely Icelandic. Number 12. Surströmming, Sweden. In Sweden, a simple can of fish has the power to clear a room. Surströmming, or fermented Baltic herring, is sealed in tins and left to ferment until the pressure inside makes the can bulge. When opened, the stench is so strong, it's often compared to rotten eggs or sewage. Despite its reputation, Swedes enjoy surströmming outdoors, typically served with flatbread, potatoes, onions, and sour cream. The strong smell fades into a surprisingly tangy, salty flavor that many locals swear by. For northern Swedes, this dish is about community and heritage. Surströmming parties bring people together, often accompanied by laughter, songs, and plenty of jokes about the smell. To outsiders, it may seem unbearable, but to Swedes, it's an irreplaceable part of their food culture. Number 11. Songji, South Korea. In South Korea, Freshness is taken to the extreme with stinky, live octopus. Small octopuses are chopped into bite-sized pieces and immediately served, their tentacles still squirming on the plate. Diners dip them into sesame oil and salt, savoring the chewy, slippery texture. To outsiders, eating moving food feels unsettling, but for Koreans, it's a delicacy symbolizing vitality and freshness. Some believe the dish provides strength and stamina. It's especially popular in seafood markets, where chefs prepare it right in front of you. However, stinky is not without risks. The suction cups on the tentacles can stick to your throat if not chewed properly. Despite this, locals love it, and adventurous tourists line up to test their courage. What others see as shocking or cruel, South Koreans enjoy as an expression of their vibrant food culture and respect for the ocean's bounty. Number 10. Kiviak, Greenland. In the icy reaches of Greenland, survival has always depended on ingenuity, and nothing proves that better than kiviak. This dish begins with an entire seal, which is hollowed out and then stuffed with up to 500 small seabirds called auks. The seal is stitched closed, covered in seal fat to keep air out, and buried under heavy rocks for several months to ferment. When finally unearthed in the depths of winter, the birds inside are eaten raw, feathers and all. To outsiders, the thought is unthinkable, but for Greenlandic Inuit communities, kiviak is a delicacy, traditionally served during holidays, festivals, or when guests arrive in the long Arctic night. The taste is described as intensely pungent, with notes of strong cheese and game. While it shocks visitors, for locals it carries deep cultural meaning, a reminder of ancestors who found ways to thrive in one of the world's harshest environments. Number 9. Shokara, Japan. Japan is famous for its refined cuisine, but not all dishes fit the elegant stereotype. Shiokara is one of the country's most polarizing foods, a salty, fermented paste made from the guts of sea creatures, most often squid. The raw entrails are mixed with salt and malted rice, then left to ferment for several days until they reach an almost overwhelming intensity. To outsiders, shiokara looks slimy and smells overpowering, but for Japanese diners, it's a cherished pairing with sake. The bold umami flavor cuts through alcohol, making it a favorite snack in drinking culture. Some describe the taste as deeply savory, even addictive, once you get past the shock of its texture. While not an everyday meal, shiokara remains a treasured example of how Japanese cuisine finds balance between refinement and raw tradition. What seems disgusting to tourists is, for locals, an indulgence steeped in centuries of culinary history. Number 8. Mopane worms, Southern Africa. Across countries like Zimbabwe, Botswana, and South Africa, millions of people snack on something that would terrify outsiders. Mopane worms, the caterpillars of the emperor moth. Harvested from mopane trees, they're squeezed, boiled, and often dried in the sun before being fried or stewed. Crunchy on the outside with a chewy, earthy flavor, mopane worms are not just a curiosity, they're a vital source of protein. Street vendors sell them in paper cones, and home cooks stew them with tomatoes and spices. To locals, they're as ordinary as potato chips or beef jerky or elsewhere. For many in southern Africa, mopane worms are also tied to heritage. Families gather to harvest them in season, turning it into both an economic resource and a culinary tradition. What may seem revolting to outsiders is, for millions, a beloved staple that symbolizes resilience and ingenuity. Number 7. Century egg padan, China. Few foods confuse outsiders like the century egg or padan. Duck, chicken, or quail eggs are preserved for weeks or months in a mixture of clay, ash, lime, and rice hulls. The result is an egg that looks otherworldly. The yolk turns dark green to black, and the white becomes a translucent amber jelly. While some foreigners call it rotten, nothing could be further from the truth. In China, century eggs are prized for their silky texture and complex flavor, creamy, savory, and slightly sulfurous. They're served sliced with pickled ginger, congee, or tofu, elevating humble dishes into delicacies. For Chinese diners, century eggs represent the artistry of preservation, a culinary craft passed down for centuries. To them, the rich, layered taste is a comfort food. To outsiders, it's a shocking challenge. This contrast makes pidan one of the most fascinating, disgusting delicacies in the world. Number 6. Tuna eyeballs, Japan. At Japanese supermarkets and fish markets, you'll sometimes spot something unnerving staring back at you. Tuna eyeballs. These large orbs, each about the size of a golf ball, are sold cheaply as byproducts of tuna processing. While many foreigners avoid them, locals see them as a nutritious, collagen-rich treat. Tuna eyeballs are usually simmered or steamed, seasoned with soy sauce and garlic. The outer muscle is firm and meaty, while the gelatinous interior is surprisingly delicate. Some compare the flavor to squid or octopus. Though not a staple, tuna eyeballs are enjoyed as a side dish in izakaya pubs or cooked at home. For Japanese diners, eating every part of the fish shows respect for the animal, a philosophy of avoiding waste that runs deep in the culture. Outsiders may recoil, but for locals, tuna eyes are a tasty, resourceful delicacy. Number 5. Stinkheads, Alaska, Inuit communities. Along Alaska's rivers, native Inuit groups enjoy a dish that shocks nearly every outsider: stinkheads. These are the fermented heads of king salmon, buried underground in pits lined with leaves and left to rot for weeks. By the time they're ready, the heads give off a powerful odor and have a slimy texture that many can't stomach. But within local culture, stinkheads are cherished. The dish represents a deep respect for using every part of the fish, ensuring nothing goes to waste. For generations, families have prepared stinkheads during salmon season, turning preservation into both necessity and tradition. To outsiders, the smell and appearance are unbearable. To Inuit communities, stinkheads are a seasonal treat, a flavor tied to identity, survival, and heritage. What looks disgusting is actually a living link to ancestors and their connection with the land and river. Number 4, sheep eyeball and tomato juice, Mongolia. When Mongolians need a cure for a heavy hangover, they turn to one of the most eyebrow-raising remedies on earth, a sheep eyeball floating in tomato juice. Served warm in a broth-like drink, it's not just food, it's medicine. The eyeball itself is chewy, gelatinous, and surprisingly mild in flavor. Locals believe it helps see clearly after a night of drinking and restores balance to the body. The dish has roots in Mongolia's nomadic lifestyle, where nothing from a slaughtered animal was wasted. Foreigners often gag at the idea, but Mongolians view it with practicality. In a land where harsh climates demand resilience, this unusual cure reflects resourcefulness. It might look revolting, but to many Mongolians, it's as familiar as an energy drink. We are now moving on to the top 3 of the list. If you have made it this far, please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to Vault of 15. Number 3. Ikizukuri, Japan. One of the most controversial delicacies in Japan is ikizukuri, meaning prepared alive. It's a form of sashimi where fish, shrimp, or even octopus is sliced and served while still moving. Diners often see the animal twitching on the plate as they eat. To outsiders, this practice seems cruel and shocking. But in Japanese fine dining, ikizukuri represents ultimate freshness, the idea of consuming seafood at its peak vitality. It is usually served in high-end restaurants and considered a luxury experience, reserved for those who appreciate rare culinary traditions. For locals who indulge, ikizukuri is about precision, respect for the animal, and the artistry of presentation. What may appear horrifying to foreigners is, within its cultural context, a symbol of mastery and refinement. Number 2, escamoles, Mexico. Deep in central Mexico, there's a dish nicknamed insect caviar. Escamoles, the larvae of ants harvested from agave plant roots. To those unfamiliar, eating ant eggs sounds revolting, but to Mexicans, this is a delicacy with a history going back to the Aztecs. Eskimos are creamy, nutty, and slightly buttery in taste. They're usually fried with butter, garlic, and spices, then wrapped in warm tortillas. The texture resembles cottage cheese or corn kernels, making them surprisingly approachable once you take the first bite. For locals, Eskimos aren't a dare. They're a beloved seasonal food that connects them to ancestral roots. Outsiders may cringe, but Mexicans proudly embrace this dish as a symbol of culinary identity. Number 1. Kopi Luwak, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam. At the top of our list is a drink that seems elegant in cafes but shocking once you learn how it's made. Kopi Luwak, or civet coffee. The beans are eaten by civet cats, digested, and then excreted. Farmers collect the droppings, clean the beans, and roast them to create one of the world's most expensive coffees. To outsiders, the process is off-putting, even disgusting. But in the Southeast Asia, Kopi Luwak is considered a luxury. The digestion process alters the beans, producing a smoother, less acidic flavor prized by coffee lovers. In local communities, it's also tied to tourism and livelihood, making it more than just a novelty. What sounds like the worst cup of coffee imaginable is, for many, a symbol of refinement, proof that beauty and taste can sometimes come from the strangest places. We hope you enjoyed this episode of Vault of 15, your number 1 top 15 list maker. What may seem disgusting to some is beloved comfort food to others, proving that taste is truly cultural. Would you dare to try any of these? Thank you for watching, and don't forget to join us next time for another countdown into the world's strangest and most fascinating stories.